A seismic event rocked Mexico and reverberated across the globe on February 22, 2026. In a dramatic and historic blow against organized crime, Mexican security forces reportedly killed Nemesio el.mencho Oseguera Cervantes, the feared head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most violent and powerful criminal organizations in the world. El.mencho wasn't just another cartel boss. For decades, he was the man at the center of Mexico's drug war, a figure so notorious that the U.S. government offered a $15 million reward for information leading to his capture. His reported death didn't just mark the end of a criminal era, it set off a wave of violence, roadblocks, and uncertainty in multiple Mexican states, sparking fear and hope in equal measure. This is the story behind the headlines. To understand the enormity of this development, we must first understand the man himself. Born July 17, 1966, in a small farming town in Michoacán, Mexico, Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, known as el.mencho, was a former policeman who rose from modest origins to become a criminal mastermind. By 2009, he founded the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, which rapidly evolved from a regional trafficking group into a continental criminal empire. Under his leadership, CJNG expanded operations across Mexico, into the United States, Europe, Asia, and beyond. Unlike older cartels that were built on smuggling routes inherited from predecessors, el.mencho built his network strategically controlling fentanyl and methamphetamine production, trafficking cocaine, and employing military-style tactics to enforce dominance. The CJNG was feared for its brutality, and under el.mencho's command it used drones armed with explosives, targeted rival cartel leaders, attacked military forces directly, deployed roadblocks and arson to intimidate authorities. His cartel was so aggressive that in 2025, the U.S. government designated CJNG a foreign terrorist organization, a rare and strong classification typically reserved for extremist groups rather than drug trafficking rings. El.mencho was more than a crime leader, he was the embodiment of modern narco power, a figure who rewrote the rules of the drug war. On that Sunday in February 2026, Mexican forces launched a decisive military operation in Tapalpa, a mountainous region in the western state of Jalisco, the heartland of CJNG territory. This wasn't a routine raid. The Mexican army, backed by intelligence operations and diplomatic pressure from the United States, engaged cartel fighters in a fierce gun battle. According to reports, at least 7 cartel members were killed, including el.mencho himself. 3 soldiers were wounded during the operation. Heavy weapons, ammunition, and other assets were seized by the army. Sources indicate el.mencho was wounded in the firefight and later died en route to Mexico City, where authorities had intended to transport him for processing and interrogation. The operation was described by Mexican officials as one of the most significant breakthroughs in years of efforts to dismantle CJNG and weaken its reach. The moment news of el.mencho's death spread, scenes of unrest broke out across several Mexican states. Videos on social media showed burning vehicles and buses on highways, narco blockades on roads in Jalisco, Guanajuato, Michoacán, and beyond, gunfire exchanges between cartel elements and security forces. Authorities issued urgent warnings. Jalisco's governor declared a code red and urged residents to shelter at home. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico City recommended citizens in affected states shelter in place. Several airlines, including Air Canada and U.S. carriers, suspended flights to and from Puerto Vallarta due to safety concerns. The violent response highlighted how deeply CJNG's power was embedded in local societies and how quickly chaos can erupt when such a figure is removed. Under el.mencho, the CJNG didn't just operate as a drug smuggling cartel, it became a sophisticated and diversified criminal enterprise. The cartel's activities included small blue diamond large-scale production and trafficking of cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and heroin. Small blue diamond international money laundering through shell companies and financial networks. Small blue diamond extortion and kidnapping in Mexico. Small blue diamond arms trafficking and violent enforcement tactics. Small blue diamond influence operations in local communities, including public support mechanisms in some regions, blurring the lines between criminal rule and social influence. CJNG's reach extended to all 50 U.S. states, making it a key provider of narcotics across North America. The DEA and U.S. State Department repeatedly identified the cartel as a major threat to public safety, particularly due to fentanyl, which has contributed significantly to the opioid crisis in the U.S. In many regions of Mexico, especially in western states, CJNG had effectively challenged the authority of the state, positioning itself as a parallel power. El.mencho had been one of the most wanted fugitives for years, not just by Mexico, but by the United States. The U.S. had issued several indictments against him dating back to the 1990s for drug trafficking, conspiracy, and firearms offenses. By 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, offered up to $15 million for information leading to his arrest, one of the highest rewards ever offered for a cartel leader. The Trump administration designated CJNG as a foreign terrorist organization, amplifying legal tools and pressure mechanisms to disrupt its operations, a move that was controversial but underscored how significant the threat was perceived. This international pressure helped create a framework for collaboration between Mexican and U.S. forces, training, intelligence sharing, and coordinated operations that ultimately led to the 2026 raid. In the immediate aftermath, experts had mixed views. White heavy checkmark, major symbolic victory, removing el.mencho from the field is a psychological blow to CJNG and a strategic triumph for Mexican security forces. White heavy checkmark, disruption of leadership, it may fracture CJNG's command structure, forcing rival commanders to vie for control or splinter into smaller groups. Question mark, potential escalation of violence, historically, removing top cartel bosses has preceded power struggles and increased violence in affected regions. Question mark, short-term instability, roadblocks, reprisals, and criminal backlash are likely to continue in the coming weeks. Analysts warn that the death of a boss is not the end of a cartel, it is often a catalyst for reshaping criminal networks and alliances, which can lead to unpredictable outcomes. The reported death of el.mencho marks one of the most consequential moments in the modern drug war. For decades, he evaded authorities, built a criminal empire that spanned continents, and redefined what a cartel could be. Now, with his death confirmed by multiple sources, the narrative of Mexico's security struggle enters a new chapter. But the war is far from over. His death may weaken CJNG, but it may also reshape the landscape of organized crime in unpredictable ways. One thing is certain, the fall of el.mencho is not just a headline, it is a turning point that will resonate in Mexico, the United States, and the global fight against drug trafficking for years to come.